What's up, Limit Breakers? Back at you with another episode of the Limitless Performance Podcast, focused on holistic sports training and our sports mindfulness curriculum. Today, we're actually going to repost an oldie but a goodie, and this goes out to anyone in that high school age, college age, or young adult age. This is a perfect podcast for anyone in that age range. And if you're a parent of someone in this age range, please share this podcast episode with anyone you know in that target audience, because this is basically as much wisdom as I could possibly give someone in terms of what I've learned from running a company and in terms of what I've learned from striving for goals, achievement orientation, and the wisdom that I've kind of gained on this CTG journey. But basically, I was invited to speak in front of a business class for Mr. Miles, who's from Craig High School, and he invited me to come in and speak to the seniors of the class who are in internship classes for business. But essentially, he told me, come in and say whatever you want to say. And so, of course, I wanted to come in and talk about a lot of things we talk about in this podcast, but primarily orienting our mind towards process and wisdom and away from the kind of success stereotype we have today of materialism, fame, legacy, money, things of that nature. And so this podcast is all about the right things to strive for and realizing when you get to that destination or whatever we're striving for, to be satisfied at the end. Because right now, young adults are orienting themselves towards things that we know do not provide them the fulfillment that they're looking for or what they think that they're going to find in that destination or whatever goal they have. And so this episode is perfect for anyone that's super ambitious, a conquistador, wants to take over the world, or anyone that needs to find that motivation to live the life of their dreams, right? To discover their own personal potential, human potential, I like to call it. But basically discovering what the best version of you is. This is a perfect podcast episode, again, for anyone in that young adult age range. I was really, really satisfied with this speech and the message that came across, and the kids received it very, very well. Multiple of these kids said, it was a life-changing speech for them, which is very flattering, but again, that's why I want to reshare it, because there's a lot of people that can still benefit from this content. So let's dive into it, Limit Breakers. Again, I'd love to get to know you. Let me know what you think of this podcast and share it with your buddies. We just want to help as many people as we can, discover their personal potential. Let's break those limits. Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Jack Hummel. Like Miles just said, so I graduated in 2019, and I know a lot of people in this room. So Keegan and Joe know a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about today since they work for CTG. But essentially, I'm going to talk about this picture a little bit more later, but this is where CTG's at right now, and it started with just CTG hoops. But you're going to hear me talk about terms like integral a lot, so that means holistic and basically a balanced whole. Tatum, oh my gosh, in this class too. Tatum did CTG. But right now I want everyone to get out a notebook, it's up to you if you want to take notes, but at least I want everyone to have one out. And then think deeply about questions throughout the speech, because at the end I'll give a little 5-minute thing for questions if you have any. Does that sound cool? Yeah. What grade is everyone in? Tatum, you're a junior? Dang. Everyone else, juniors and seniors, I'm assuming? Beautiful. This is not going to be a normal speech that you probably had people come through. I am going to talk about business, things about your future, but everything I'm going to teach you today is everything I wish I would have known when I was graduating. So basically my goal of this speech is to help you all skip steps in the next couple years of your life, because I'm only 4 years older than you. So I'm a senior in college. Or 5 if you're like Tatum and you're a junior. But my story, so started Craig 2015 to 2019. Didn't have much interest in business until I was a senior in high school. Like Miles said, I loved the finance classes. And I played 4 years of basketball here. But in that time of my life, it was just basketball. That's all I really cared about. After that, so Miles did say I went to Platteville. Before that, I went to River Falls. So that's by the Twin Cities. It's 4 hours away from here. But I didn't have a great high school experience. There's tons of things I learned from it, but I wanted to get away, and that's kind of why I went to go play basketball at River Falls. 2020. So 2020 was during COVID, so March, when I was at River Falls, that was when COVID hit. They sent everyone in college home. Nobody knew what was going to happen. I'm sure everyone here, if you were in high school, went through the same experience, or 8th and 7th grade. But my father passed in 2020 of August, and that's a big part of the speech today. That's definitely when my life changed. It was the biggest blessing and curse that I've ever had, because there's so many things I learned from it. And I'm going to talk about that a lot, is the suffering, the struggle, and the failure. That's literally where you learn the biggest turning points in your life. So that's not something we should fear, or something we should run away from. After that happened, my mindset at that time was, screw life. Everyone dies, nothing matters. That's kind of where my mind was at. My mom forced me to go to UROC. I did not want to go. Wanted nothing to do with school. And after that semester, I convinced my mom, I'm done. I'm done with school. I'm a dropout. I'm not doing that anymore. And then CTG, so after my dad passed, I still had students. So I trained for CTG probably for 4 years before I took over the business. So I was just a basketball trainer, but I knew nothing about the business side of things, how to run a business, all of those very important key aspects that you learn in this class. But a lot of my students, I didn't want to run CTG the first 2 months after my dad passed, because it just brought up bad memories, and I didn't want to have to deal with it. But I had kids that were, I just cut them off from training essentially, and they paid me. I still had to follow through with my service. And so I just started training kids, and I started to enjoy it. It was a way for me to escape from kind of where I was at life at the time. And then, I started to get the hang of the business thing. Word of mouth spread. A lot of people liked me as a trainer. And that's kind of when CTG started to take off, and that's a big reason why I didn't want to go to UROC. I wanted to be done with school, because I was like, I can do this. Then I went back to school. Biggest reason I went back to school, my mom, one, I wanted to make her happy. She really wanted me to go to school. And two, my friend Blake McCann, who also played basketball here, convinced me to go play up at Platteville. And so at River Falls, my degree was finance, and Platteville, it was psychology. So that was a big shift over those years. When I was going through a lot of things, I definitely focused more towards, philosophy, what matters in life, than, finance and business, which I'm going to get to. Platteville year 2 was this year, and now I'm done with school again. Okay, so I majored in psychology for 2 years, and now I'm done with school. CTG story. So it was founded in 2014 by my father. He actually ran a successful business for local vision, but it ended up failing. So essentially it was founded in 2014. I started training my freshman or sophomore year. I don't know exactly when. Bye, Tatum. But my dad essentially, he groomed me to be more of a good person than a good businessman. So a lot of the things from business I didn't really learn from him. The 3v3 camp. So that's the biggest revenue stream for CTG right now, is the 3 months in the summer. We have a huge camp where kids come in, and they basically play in a 3v3 league. A lot of kids here, the boys, Joe, Connor, Easton, have all done it. But that was born in 2017. Fall of 2020 is when I took over. 3v3 last summer had over 250 kids, and this year we're projected to have over 300. And I'll talk a little bit about CTG's success over the last 2 years. So I've done it for 2.5 years officially, which is weird. It feels like I've been doing it for like 5 years. But so over the last 2 years, so I'm not going to say specifics of what CTG's revenue sheet is, but in 3 to 5 years, we'll probably be at 7 figures, somewhere around there. And I don't want you to fall in this illusion. When companies have big revenue sheets, it doesn't mean that I have a lot of money. I spent a ton of my money on investing back into the company, back into my own personal growth. And I'm going to talk about that again a little later in slides. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away from this, is the middle way. So you're not too frugal with your money, and you don't spend so carelessly, because I've been on both sides. In high school, I just strictly ate McChickens, saved every penny I possibly could for my future, which isn't what we want to do. And we also don't want to just spend carelessly, YOLO. You want to find that middle ground with spending, but I don't want you to fall in the illusion of money whatsoever. 300 plus 5-star reviews on Google, 20,000 podcast downloads, 125,000 social media, over 800 kids in the last 2 years, 5 officially filed companies. So you have CTG Hoops, basketball training, mindset, sports psychology, growth is mental training for non-athletes. I'm actually probably going to transition that into mindset, so I don't have two separate websites. And then the fourth is CTG nutrition, so sports nutrition, or anybody that is looking to enhance their mind and body through what they eat. And then the last one's Tony Helmo Foundation. So Joe, Connor, Jake, they helped put on that JPAC event that I'm sure a lot of you saw them post about. So that was the Tony Helmo Foundation. Named it after my father. He was someone, even me personally, struggled with a lot of mental health issues, but he was a person that a lot of people viewed as, he has a great life, he's a great person, great family, great kids, but not a lot of people knew what he was going through. I'm very similar. The last year of my life, I've been high on life. My life's been great, but before that in high school, I struggled with lots of depression, even though outside looking in, looked like I'd have a great life, but that's a big reason why I wanted to start the foundation. Basically breaking down the barriers of you overestimating others' happiness. Now, it's easy to talk about successes. Now let's talk about my failures. Like I talked about already, high school I was extremely frugal. All I wanted to do was save, was very scared to spend money. Then once I had CTG, it's called the bigger plate theory, right? If you've ever had a big plate and you go to eat food, you're going to eat more because the plate's bigger. It's the same thing with money. So a lot of people, when they come out of college, they've been broke for so long, and they get a real job, they get a lot of money, they start spending it like crazy because they've never had this big plate before. That's definitely what I did the first year of CTG. It didn't matter what it was. I would spend it instantly because I still invested in growth, so I don't regret any of those choices. But I definitely was very careless with money, which was so weird because I went from two opposite sides of the spectrum. But I like to call it the middle way, have reasoned spending, but never be scared to spend something, especially right now. Now is a time to risk everything, okay? Don't, drop all your money on stocks, but you don't have anyone depending on you. So now's the time to learn and take risk and fail because you don't have that pressure of kids or a spouse that you have to take care of, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my mindset a lot of times when I was running my business. I was like, now's the time to take as many risks as I can because I can. Not thinking sleep was important. So first year of CTG, I probably woke up at 3 a.m. for 6 months. And so that's how my story is a little different. I've always been addicted to working hard. Basketball was what I used to only work hard for, and then it kind of translated into my business. But I used to not sleep, and I've learned that how important sleep is for my productivity. Don't think if you cut off sleep you're going to get more done. It's very not true. You're actually just going to be more stressed and less happy if you don't get sleep. So remember that sleep is important. 7 to 9 hours, minimum 7, maximum 9 hours is what I would recommend. Money being what most of my thoughts revolved around. This is the biggest thing I've learned. There is no destination. Okay, right now looking at me, you're like, wow, he's gotten a lot done in 2 years. It still doesn't feel like I've made it, and I've realized it's never going to feel like I've made it. So don't get into this illusion of money. It's scientifically proven. Once you reach middle class, $75,000 a year, more money is not going to make you more happy at all. It's proven, okay? So yes, right now, you have to get to that point of financial freedom, but don't think more and more and more is going to bring you what you're looking for, okay? All of you in business, we're all looking for one thing, okay? And actually, literally anything in your life, you're looking for happiness, right? You think more money is going to bring you happiness. You think more friends is going to bring you happiness. You think more hype about your business is going to bring you happiness, okay? So instead of focusing on these external things, why don't you focus on the root problem? You're focused on happiness. That's what you're looking for, and literally everything you do, every action you take is looking for that. So that's when I changed my thinking. Instead of being more about money, I was like, more money isn't giving me what I thought it would give me. And that's the biggest thing I wish I would know in that first year. All I cared about was money, right? And I literally vividly remember throwing stuff around my room when my dad died because I was so focused on money and stocks. And I realized, that's not at all what it's about. So just check your motivations. My motivation to make more money is so I can help more people, okay? And I truly believe that's a genuine thing now versus back then it was I just wanted more money so I could, for myself essentially. So I was, I just wanted more and more. That's the natural thing for a human to do. But money is certainly not what it's about. I lost $30,000 3 separate times in the span of 2 years. I literally physically remember, couldn't move. I was so sick because I lost $30,000. So essentially what happened, my dad died. Next day, threw all my money into a put option on Peloton. Peloton right now, so it got up to $170, and I shorted it at like 100. So it kept going up, lost $30,000 in one day. Yeah, it was definitely not a great day, but there was so much I learned from that, because again, it was all pushing me towards realizing what matters, okay, because it's not about the money. But my mindset at that time was, screw life. I don't care what happens. If I lose this, I lose it. My life's over anyways. That was the mindset I'm in. So big thing, never make emotional decisions with money. That's a terrible idea. But I've lost a lot of money, but I've also lost a lot of money to learn the things that have made me successful. So again, that's a huge number, but the number that's going to make me from learning from what happened there is a lot. But telling you this now, hopefully you can skip that step so you don't have to learn it for yourself. Thinking money was going to bring me happiness, I already said that. It's not. You're never going to think you've made it with money, and more is never the answer, even though you try to convince yourself that it is. It's human nature thinking more and more is what's going to bring you fulfillment. It's not. Thinking I have all the time in the world to get what I need to get done. This is the biggest thing I want you to take away from my speech. We're all going to die, and no one is more obligated to live a longer life than anyone else. Okay, a lot of us, when we're young, we think we got all the time in the world, right? And you hear all these statistics of people dying in car crashes or other scenarios, and you're like, well, that won't happen to me. That's your ego saying you're safe and that you're young and that you're not going to die. And that's not meant to scare you. That's meant to enrich your life. If you keep death close, right, on my whiteboard every single day, I write, I will die, okay? And the reason I do this is because it puts things into perspective to me. What matters? Am I focused on the future constantly? If I'm always focused on the future, then I'm missing real life in the first place, right? And so people get scared of death. They try to push it away. They try to not focus on it. But that's going to make your life a lot better if you keep that close. And that's why my father's death was a blessing and a curse, because it made me realize, we all don't got a lot of time. So what are we going to do with that time? Okay, you all have two lives. The first is the life you live when you don't think you're going to die. The second life is the one you realize that at any given moment, right, you could not be here. So what are you going to do with that time? Right? Are you being intentional with your time, or are you just wasting it away because you think, you're immortal? Really think about if you walk around every day thinking, I'm not going to die today. Because it's very possible. Someone in this room is going to die first. Okay, I'm going to go out and say it. Someone in this room is going to die first. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to enrich your life. And I know it's in high school you don't think about it at all, okay? But I wish I would have thought about it, because I would have been a lot better person a lot sooner if I had that perspective. Does that? What? Probably going to be me. Mr. Ellison statistically has the highest chance. But, yeah. Not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you. All right? Having days consumed by my future vision. So that's a very, very big thing I've learned too, is the present moment, okay? If you're always focused on the future, you're literally missing the life that you live. All you ever have is right now, right? The future and past is just a present moment thought. Nothing can exist without the present, okay? So stop focusing so much on the past or focusing so much on the future. You're literally missing the only life you'll ever have, okay? Lonely year of 2021 to 2022. So I lived by myself in Platteville that year, worst year of my life. So that was a year after my dad passed, and I was living by myself, was seriously depressed. But this was all while CTG was very successful. And so again, that's just putting things into perspective. You never know what someone's going through. And to understand what really matters. I had a successful business, but I was extremely depressed. So, is this business really what's making me happy? It wasn't. So I had to focus more on what's going to make me happy. And that was the biggest thing I took away from that failure. What definitely does not matter. So like I said, clinging to the future, thinking there's a destination. We think of these adults, right? In high school, I used to think, my parents, my teachers. Everyone that's older, we think they have it figured out. They know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. I don't know what's going on, okay? There's a spectrum. There's no full truth, okay? There's nobody that has all of the answers. But you can't get close to that by learning and growing, okay? And so don't think, once I get this, once I have my dream house, my more money, my perfect wife, my perfect family, then I'm going to make it. It's still not there. Your human nature is more and more, right? So to just understand that there isn't a destination, it's going to force you more into the present moment, and you're going to be a better person because of it, because you're only focusing on right now. Money. So yes, we're in business. We want to make a lot of money, but what are your intentions with that money, right? Are your intentions pure, or are they for yourself? Okay. If they're for yourself, I can promise you it's not going to make you more happy, right? There's something called the happiness baseline, okay, and this is really important to understand. A happiness baseline. So I like to use a cup, okay? So all of us have this internal happiness baseline no matter what happens to us in our life. So what people think is they think when they get more money, this cup's going to fill up really high, right? Or say you win the lottery, your cup's going to fill up really high. But your body and brain always adapts to the situation that it's in, right? So your brain and body will adapt to this newfound environment with a lot more money, and it's going to go back down to wherever this internal happiness baseline is. And again, this baseline is all we're ever searching for with any money we want or any girlfriend or more friends we want. It's searching for this to make this better, okay? And so we look outside of us, all these external environments to make us happy, okay? But we don't focus on raising this line. So instead of focusing on filling the cup and bringing it back down, focus on raising this line. That's going to make you more happy, which consists of, how you respond to things, what's controllable, building your social connections around you. That's really what matters and what's going to raise that baseline. Does that demonstration make sense? Okay, cool. Legacy. So for a long time, I always quarrel with the questions, what's the meaning of life? Where's my dad? Stuff like that. And for a long time, I thought legacy was the answer. Leaving your mark on the world, people knowing your name. And for a while, I thought that was the answer. That's why I want to help people. I want to have this big name that I influence a bunch of people. That also isn't the answer, because in 500 years, any famous person, even Elon Musk, he's going to be a name in a book that people read for, say, 5 minutes, then they go to the next page, read about another human being that changed the world, right? How many of you think about George Washington every day? Nobody does. You read about him, you forget about him. Legacy doesn't matter. You will be forgotten, okay? So what does matter? What you do right now, who you connect with right now, who you help right now, your own personal happiness, enjoying the present moment. Does that make sense? Material items, already talked about that, similar to the happiness baseline. Worldly treasures versus heavenly treasures. This was when the switch flipped for me. What can I take if I die? I can't take all this money I have. I can't take all this, popularity with my business. So what really matters, the people I connect with, the people that I can help, speaking to you right now, this is what matters to me. If I died right now, I'd be extremely satisfied with what I'm doing because I'm trying to help other people, and that makes me feel good too. So I'm happy right now. And what are you truly looking for? We've already talked about that. You're all looking for one thing, and that's to be happy. Okay. What I have actually learned, okay, like I said, all that matters is this moment right now. The only people that matter are the ones you're with right now, and the only thing you're doing that matters is the thing you're doing right now, because that's all that exists. Anything you think of outside the present moment isn't real. Okay, it's just a present moment thought. Isn't that weird? But a lot of times when we get sucked into this future and past stuff, we think that's real, but it's not. The only thing that's real is right now, so focus on right now. How can you be the best version of you right now? Happiness edge and baseline. So, kids talk to me all the time. I talk about happiness a lot with my athletes. They're like, I don't care about happiness, bro. I want to be good at my sport. Makes total sense. Scientifically, something called the happiness edge. Okay, happiness is the #1 amplifier. Do you guys know what an amplifier is? What's an amplifier? It makes it louder, right? So if you take, say, someone with the same genes and same skill in basketball, you have 2 players, one's sad, one's happy, who do you think is going to perform better? The happier person, okay? Happiness is an amplifier in all aspects of your life. Everything gets better when you are happier, right? And so that's why I talk a lot about happiness a lot with anybody I'm trying to train, is because you're going to get better at literally everything because you're focused on that. I've already said, keep death very close. That's going to enrich your life. It's not meant to scare you. Universe simply rewards good people. And this is what I've learned over the last year. People just love to be around good people, and good things happen to good people without even trying. It's effortless, right? And over this last year, I've made so many connections without even trying because I'm just trying to be a good person, the best person that I can be. So just check your intentions. Is everything you're doing for yourself or is it for other people? You're going to be rewarded for yourself by being effortlessly for other people, by doing things effortlessly for them. Judgment. This is a very, very big thing.
However much you judge other people is how much you're going to judge yourself. If you judge yourself a lot, you're going to struggle a lot. You have to know to see. All of us are put into different environments and we have different genes. So we can never ever judge a person for taking any action, right? When we have people, that commit a crime, we're always, we feel compassion for the person that was committed the crime or that had the crime committed to them. You have to be compassionate for a person that did commit the crime too, though. Because the things they're going through, the reason they make those choices is because of the life they've lived. If you were put into their situation with the same genes and the same environment, you would do the exact same thing. And to say that you're special and you wouldn't do that, that's your ego, thinking that you're different. And I'm just going to let you know all right now, I'm not special. None of us are special. Yes, we're unique in our own way. But everything I do or anybody else does, you are very capable of. Social connections, importance. So America is a very individualistic society. We're all about, advancing in our career, getting more money, which is great. But the number one indicator of everyone's happiness is your social connection, how you impact other people. And it's an endless cycle, right? So to make yourself happy, you have to help others be happy. And if you help others be happy, then it makes you happy. And it just keeps going round and round. You get happier as a person. So big thing is social connection. So I used to rather work than hang out with other people. I've definitely changed now because I know how important social connection is to how productive I am in my work. And again, it goes back to that integral thing. Everything you do is very important, even if you're not doing that aspect. If you're an athlete, everything you do outside of your sport affects how good you are at your sport because you're building habits of work ethic, right? So if you try as hard as you can when you wash the dishes, that's actually going to help you be a better baseball player, Joe, because you're building that right effort habit. Does that make sense? So everything you do at every given moment affects whatever you want to happen. What freedom actually is. So freedom is the ability to be okay no matter what happens in your life. You can't control anything externally. You can only control one thing in life. Does anybody want to guess what that one thing is? Keegan? So you have reactions and then you have something else. It starts with an R. That's close. Wait, what did you say? Oh, you're close. Response, right? So a response, the difference between a reaction and response, reaction is a habit, right? So a lot of us, when we hear someone, talking crap about us in high school, we have an immediate reaction habit response to feel bad, to be angry, those types of things. A response is a conscious choice to be okay with what's going on. And that's essentially all we can control, so that's what freedom is, right? So a lot of times when I get stressed, I'm thinking about, money or taxes, and then I ask myself, am I training myself to be okay no matter what happens in my life? If I lose everything, do I still think I'll be okay? I do. So that's what freedom is. And then freedom externally essentially is doing what you want to do every day. That calls to different people. There's nothing wrong with having a normal job and going to work every day. But I have a hybrid approach. So I have freedom externally right now. I can wake up and do whatever I want every day. Okay, but I also have freedom internally, knowing something terribly wrong goes in my life. I'm still going to be okay with that external environment. 8, it's about how you make others feel. It goes back to that heavenly treasure thing. It has nothing to do with heaven. It's just making you put into perspective, if I was gone, what matters? The middle way, like I talked about, integral daily focus, everything you do does affect whatever you want or whatever your goals are. Nothing is universal. So all of you that I'm speaking to right now, don't listen to me blindly. Okay, there's a lot of things that I'm saying right now that's going to be wrong because growth essentially is proving your previous self wrong, right? But it's up to you to self-investigate. It's up to you to find the answers. You can never blindly listen to someone, okay, and think that that's right or that's what's true. And like I said, there is no full truth. It's just a constant growing process of being a better person. You'll never figure it out. Like I said, there is no destination, so stop tricking yourself into thinking there is one. I promise there isn't. 2 years I've been running CTG, and I've had all that success, and I still don't feel like I've made it, right? You're never going to make it. Sleep. Sleep's very important, 7 to 9 hours a night. So if I had to simplify it, last week I went on a 72-hour silent meditation retreat. So essentially, the whole point of it was for me to be able to see what's going on in my mind and how I trick myself each day. And it made me realize what's really important. If I had to simplify it into 3 things, it's happiness for yourself, growing yourself, and then serving others. And like I said, it's that constant cycle, right? To be happy is to grow, and to grow is to share it with others. And then the cycle just keeps repeating itself. It all feeds into each other. what it takes. So again, you cannot just flip of a switch be addicted to work ethic. It takes small, tiny steps each and every single day. But I'm definitely someone that's obsessed with what I do. I wake up every day excited to work. And a lot of people would look at my schedule and think, I would never like doing that. It takes time to build certain habits to get to that point. But like the 72-hour meditation retreat, got back at 1 a.m., woke up at 4 a.m., couldn't go back to sleep because I was so excited to work on all the ideas I had from the retreat. That's kind of how my brain's wired, but again, it wasn't always like that way. Again, I write every day, I will die today. Puts into perspective, what do I want to do if I were to die today? Right now, I'm extremely satisfied with speaking to all of you and hopefully giving all of you an advantage for whatever you go into for your career. Middle way integral approach, so I do small, consistent things each day. Instead of having one day dedicated to reading, one day dedicated to making content, I try to have things that I do each day. And on the right here, my daily non-negotiables. So those are things I do absolutely every single day. Obviously, if you're on vacation, I might miss a day or two. But meditate for 20 minutes. Learn, which is reading for me, and I'm going to talk about that. Create, which is writing or film or speaking. I'm creating right now. I created this speech, and we're making content so we can give it to the public. And then mission, so exposing mental training to youth. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and why I think it's so important. But reading, that's the first step that all of you should take right now. Reading is a hack because people write books about their life, right? So they lived for 40 years. They put their life into 200 pages that you can read in 5 hours, right? A book is an opportunity for you to skip steps. And you're not going to love reading right away. You're going to have to force yourself to sit down and write reading. But eventually the dopamine will kick in and you see how it changes your life and you become addicted to it, right? I have thousands of books. I've read hundreds of them. But reading was the biggest game changer in my success for sure. Brain dumps for my creativity. So anytime I have an idea, I love doing what's called a brain dump. So essentially what that is you get a piece of paper out and you write down every possible brain dump idea you have on the paper, and then you'll go back and look at it. Okay, is this a good idea? Is this just an idea I wrote down because I thought it was good at the time? But there's no filter, and that's a great way to kind of get an idea or your creativity on paper so you can go back and look at it. Excel sheet for organizing tasks. So this is how I organize what I do every single day. It can look pretty intimidating. Keegan for sure uses it right now because he does a lot of outsourcing tasks for me. You can't even see it because the writing's so small. But I put down like my daily non-negotiables, my mission, what's the biggest priority for me right now, what's not the biggest priority. But every day, essentially, I wake up and, I do what calls to me. I don't have a book picked out for me that day. I just wake up, what's calling me that day, that's what I like to do. But I love Excel sheets for organizing what I need to get done. If I have ideas, I'll put it in my back pocket in my Excel sheet. If I want to come back to it, I'll come back to it. Mandatory or no alarm right now. So like I said, I like to let my body decide when I wake up. Not everybody has that opportunity. If you go to bed at 12 because you had a baseball game, you got to set an alarm to wake up for school. But again, that's that freedom externally that I have an advantage, which is why I love entrepreneurship, is I let my body wake up. But normally it's around 6 to 7 a.m. is when my body naturally wakes up. Mandatory meditation each morning. So mental training has changed my life because it's scientifically proven. It's called neuroplasticity. You can intentionally change your brain. And if you change the way you think, you're going to change yourself, and that's how you can change the world. Okay? And the biggest thing with meditation is there's this dogma of religious and spirituality about it, which I'm not discrediting at all. I'm a very spiritual person myself, actually. But my mission is to give it to the youth in a non-stigmatized way because it's changed my life and my ability to think, to be in the present moment, to respond to situations that aren't going well in my life. It allows you to slow down and realize you don't have to listen to this voice in your head. And so that's why I make it mandatory every morning because you don't measure it by how the meditation goes. A lot of people, if they sit down and meditate, they're going crazy because they've never sit still and listened to themselves before. But you don't measure it by how it goes. You measure it by how it changes your life. And I'm a much happier person since I started doing all the mental training, which is why my mission as a person right now to give that to the youth. Sauna, I have my own portable sauna. I love that to detox my body. But again, that's just a simple thing that I do. I try to keep my physical health just as good as my mental health. Physical activity, I either lift or play basketball every day. And again, this all goes back to that integral approach. Don't go all in on one thing and then forget about the other small things that definitely affect that one thing. Surrounding myself with those I love. These 3 questions, right? If you just wrote down these 3 questions right here, these are the questions people ask every single day, and these are the answers, okay? The most important time, now. The most important people, the ones you're with. The best way to do something, present effort intentionally in this moment right now. If you're in the moment, you're going to try and be the best version of yourself, right? When we're on autopilot, we're thinking about something else, you're not in the moment, you're not going to be your best self. That's how you build that habit, that exponential growth of growing yourself. And like I said, I already talked about my daily non-negotiables, but those 4 things are what I do every day, at least. So this is a sample of what I did on Sunday. Sunday, let my body wake up. I woke up at 6:30 a.m., started morning routine. My morning routine consists of the meditation. I start with a warm shower, I finish with a cold shower. And again, a lot of these habits I hated doing, but I do it so effortlessly now. I've probably taken a cold shower every day for a year. But the first year I tried to do that, it was very hard for me. But those, again, science, it helps you stay alert throughout the day. There's a lot of benefits for it, for exposing yourself to the cold. Read for about 30 minutes. I did at 7 a.m. I have this big beanbag at home, so sometimes when I'm tired when I wake up, I like to just sit on that thing before I start my day. And the book I read was The Art of Saving the Planet. It's by an Eastern philosopher, meditation master, but he basically, the book essentially was about how we can change people's lives through changing how they think. 7:30 a.m. I started doing CTG tasks. Like I said, I pull from that Excel sheet whatever calls to me that day. There's no stress about it. There's no wrong answer when I'm trying to do something. That's a big thing that I had to get through, is I would always second guess myself. I was always like, if I did this before that, would I grow faster? Just do. Don't worry about that. If you're just doing and you're trying to improve yourself, it'll happen naturally. So don't overthink that aspect. All the worker sheets as well. So like that sheet I showed you, like Keegan, he does a lot of my outsourcing tasks through sheets similar to that, and I organize tasks for him, and then he'll help me save time by giving him little tasks like that. But that's outsourcing. I'll talk about that. That has also helped me a lot with this business. I've had tons of people. This is not something I've done by myself. Connor Clark, Keegan's brother, and Aaron Leverson, both of them graduated with me, and they were 2 big parts in the beginning that helped me. I had so many kids coming into me, I couldn't do it all by myself, and so I brought them in. They started to enjoy doing it too, and so they took some of my kids, and then that's when I learned how to actually be a businessman and to outsource tasks to other people. How am I going to help this trainer be a better trainer? How am I going to help Keegan be better at posting on social media? Stuff like that. But the tasks I do each day, I ask myself, can someone else do this right now? If the answer is yes, I give it to somebody else, because I'm going to grow the business a lot faster if I can spend time with, the vision, the creativity. Those are only things I can do. The reading, no one else can read for me. The writing, no one else can write for me. So that's how I answer what I'm going to do each day. 10 a.m. I had a meeting with my mindset coaches. So we've got a coach in London right now, St. Paul, Montana, and Madison. But we put our CTG, we've had 50 applicants in the last month. We put CTG on the UW job board, and we're targeting college kids because what we're preaching the business is, it starts as a side hustle, which is how it started for CTG with me. I couldn't financially depend on CTG right away. But essentially what these mental trainers do is I teach them how to run their own little sector of the business. So they set up a Google business page, say in London. So anybody that searches up a sports psychology trainer in London is going to pop up Coach Stefan. Then I teach them how to schedule clients, how to get more clients, how to run ads, stuff like that. But right now we have coaches in different parts of the world, and it can be done remotely. I just have to train them how to teach what our curriculum is for the mental training. But that's what that meeting was about. 10:30 I filmed for MTR, so that's the Mental Training Revolution. So that's something I just started. Again, it goes towards that mission I talked about, focusing on getting mental training to youth without being stigmatized. Because that really, if young kids start to learn how to train their brain, we'll live in a lot different world. And then mindset social media. So I just have a setup on my desk with a big ring light. And so it's easily, and I got a microphone attached to my desk so I can just pull it on, turn the camera on like Liz is holding right now. And I try to film, again, that goes to the non-negotiable. That would count as creation. 11:30. So Oh, yeah. So some people look at me and like, how are you so? I like to read outside. So I was outside probably for 4 hours reading. And again, that was just by choice. I always check in, am I enjoying this right now? If I am enjoying it, I keep doing it. And it's not like I did 4 hours straight, was looking at this book for 4 hours. I had to go home, get a laptop. So a lot of this is a summarization, but for most of that time is what I was reading. The 3 different books I read that day: The Art of Saving the Planet, 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, and Real Estate Investing. So again, I don't read just one book each day. I do whatever's calling to me. Those 3 books looked really interesting when I woke up. That's why I picked them up. 3:30, I had a call with an applicant for CTG. Like I said, we've had a lot of applicants lately. I screen them to see if they're going to be right for the business. A lot of it, business is really easy if you know how to communicate with people. And if you don't know how to communicate with people, it's going to be very, very hard for you. Again, it goes back to that social connection. So focus on your ability to communicate, develop a deep relationship, and just being a good person, giving off good energy, it's going to be super easy for you. And 3:30, so that person did not do a good job of that, and that's my number one indicator. Are you going to be able to talk to a kid, make them feel comfortable in their sessions? She was not that, and so she's not going to work for CTG. But I still had the call with her. 4:30, reviewed notes from the books I read earlier. So there was a lot of activities in some of the books I do. I love when books give you activities to train yourself, essentially. So one of them was a dream bigger activity. I do have a vision of my future, but it's not set in stone. I'm going to talk about that. But the dream bigger brain dump was like, if you could dream even farther than I've already dreamed, what would that be? And 6 o'clock, I played one-on-one with my buddy for an hour, so physical activity. 7 o'clock, I packed my apartment up to move out. 8:30, watched Pitch Perfect with my girlfriend and my best friend to end of the night. So it was a great way to end the night. I've never seen Pitch Perfect, great movie. But that's basically, at nights when I like to chill, that's kind of when I turn off my motor. But again, I still do what's calling to me in the moment. So like, if I'm super stressed out at 11:30, I'm going to stop and do something else that's going to calm me. But again, this was a Sunday, and I wouldn't have asked for a better Sunday. Like, I love to do this, and that's very, very important. Not a lot of people would love to do this. Again, nothing's universal. Do what calls to you. It's your practice. Everyone has a different practice. There is no right way to do something. Future concepts. So this is one of the biggest advices I have for you. I've said that a lot. Stop holding on to future concepts about what your life is going to look like. And don't think if you've had this future concept for so long that you can't let it go. Okay? So on the right here, these were all the future concepts I had of myself when I was in high school. First, thought I wanted to be an architect because I was good at drawing. Then I thought I wanted to be an engineer because I was good at math and science. Then I thought I wanted to just go into business, see what I like about business. Then I had Miles' class. I was like, all right, I want to be big into stocks, finance, all that stuff. And then trading. So I did have a trading experience for a little while. That was, again, a big part of why I lost. Miles hates trading. Trading is the hardest thing you'll ever learn how to do. There's so many psychological and emotional things I've learned from it. It's very possible to be successful in it, but you have to put so much into it that I was like, I just can't go all into it. And it's one of those things, you're taking money from other people. So I was like, the only reward here is for me, and that's kind of why I turned away from it. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm so glad I did have that experience because I learned so much from it. But just be careful with any of those get-rich-quick schemes, okay? People are experts at them, like spent their lives learning how to do it. So just be careful of that. Then I was a basketball trainer, and now I'm a mental trainer. And it's going to change. This mission I have, that's what it is right now. It's going to change by how I continue to grow and continue to change. But stop holding on to how your life's going to look like, okay? And if you had this vision in your life that you were going to be a cop for the last 10 years, and you suddenly realize you don't want to be a cop, that 10 years wasn't a waste. There's so many things you learned from that, okay? But stop holding on. People will hold on to that their whole life because they had it for so long. So let go of all your future concepts of yourself. You're going to constantly change and grow over these next 4 years, okay? So how you think you want your life to look is going to change dramatically. So let go of that future concept. Like I said, 72-hour silent meditation retreat. If I told myself that even a year ago, I'm like, you're crazy. That's, why would someone want to do that? I literally wanted to do that. And thinking to myself a year ago, I would have been like, you're crazy. Why would you want to do that? I go to Thailand for 22 days in 2 weeks, right? I did travel with Elson. It's actually through EF. But again, that's traveling around the world until a year ago wasn't super inspirational to me. But I think it's going to be great for building perspective for myself, which is why I want to go. My mom actually is the one that really forced me to go on that trip, even though it was awesome. But she was the one that pushed me to do it. No more basketball. I'm at peace with that. I'm very at peace with that. And that was literally my life for 15 years straight. So again, another future concept that I let go of. Mental trainer, spiritual person, love to meditate. It's so much different than what it was supposed to look like, and that's a good thing. So stop holding on to that future concept. Vision of CTG's future, like I already said, mental training to youth is what I'm focused on right now. So essentially what CTG is right now, you have CTG Integral at the top. Okay, so whole, balanced whole. That's why parents love CTG. It's a holistic approach. We're not letting, we're not solely just focused on results for their sport. We're focused on them outside of their sport, etc. You got CTG Sports. So right now we have logos being made for yoga, volleyball, runner, tennis, soccer, swimming. And I'll have these branded companies that are ready for when an applicant comes in and says, hey, I kind of want to do this. I want to be this, yoga instructor for CTG. The huge advantage that they have coming to me is they have the reputation, the money. They don't have to risk anything but their own time, which is why, I'm lucky that I can preach that to an applicant coming in saying, you only risk your time and you're still going to learn from that time. So there's really no reason people don't want to do it. Mental training revolution. So that's really the only thing I care about essentially is getting everyone to this part of CTG because that's the part that's going to change their life the most. Sports are great, but it's what you learn from sports. Okay, sports are for the enjoyment and how you, learn to communicate with others and learn from the experiences and the failures from sports. And then CTG parents, that's in the works right now. So I'm going to make, obviously I'm retired now, so I'm going to probably make leagues, like basketball leagues for older adults that want to participate in that. So right now these are just the 3 branches of CTG. And what I do is essentially regulate all of them. So like hoops, I do run our summer camp, but other than that, most of it's regulated to Keegan's brother, and I help him learn how to manage. So I'm basically managing all these different parts of the company and building a bigger vision. That's essentially what I do each day. And that's what I enjoy the most, honestly, is creating something that hasn't been created before. Vision of my future, like I said, it's an open book. Okay, right now that's my vision of what I want, but I really have no idea of what my future is going to look like. Writing books is definitely something I'm motivated to do just because of how much it's changed my life. The education system, definitely, there's nothing wrong with it right now, but we don't focus on a lot of how to live things, like what I'm speaking about today. How to be better. Like finance is, that just started to become a big thing in high school. It wasn't always like that. But those important life lesson things is what I would like to give more of in the education system. And just, we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm excited. Steps that you can take now, I would write this stuff down because this is what I would do if I were you right now, is 1, read, okay? You're not going to love reading right away, okay? You're not. But once you start to realize how it changes your life, changes your thinking, changes how happy you are, you're going to get addicted to it, and you're going to love to start doing it. But that's the biggest, if I had to put a point in when I was running CTG, the biggest change, it was reading. Crave wisdom, okay? Instead of craving knowledge, popularity, status, money, crave wisdom, what actually matters in life. That's going to enrich your life, and again, it's an amplifier. When you're a happier person, everything else around you is easier, it's effortless, and the universe rewards good people. Keep death close. Again, you don't have to write, I will die today, but just know that you're not obligated to live longer than any other person in the world. Okay? Just remember that. You're not more obligated to live longer than anyone else. Now is all you ever have, so that's all that ever matters. So try and catch yourself when you're outside the present moment because that's all that ever exists, and that's the only time you can grow yourself is in the moment right now. You're being intentional. You're trying to be the best version of yourself. It's not about being the best version. It's being present and trying to be that best version. The middle way. So personally, again, nothing's universal. Some people might not like the integral middle way setup. But I found the best results doing small little things each day that I know are essential to growing, like those daily non-negotiables that I had. Understanding you will never find happiness outside of you. So that's anything external, okay? And you will never, ever, ever have life figured out, okay? It's just a constant cycle of growing. That's the whole point. Growing yourself and growing other people. External versus internal, again, just being mindful of what you think is going to bring you what you're looking for. Okay, yes, it helps. It helps that I have friends. It helps that I have a successful business. It helps that I have a girlfriend. But I'm still training myself internally to know if something goes wrong with any of these things that makes my life so happy, I'm going to be okay. That's essentially what training for internal means. Want less. The human nature is to want more and more and more, and that's why everyone suffers, right? Because you get that more, you cross it off your list, you go to the next thing, right? So train yourself to slowly want less, and you're going to be happier by just doing that simply. Spend less, invest more. Right now, invest everything in your growth. So like I spent thousands of dollars on books. I invest in tons of stocks. I put all my money back into business. So I don't have a lot of money personally because I keep feeding CTG to grow faster. That's the biggest thing. Right now is the time to risk. You don't have anybody depending on you. And if you do risk and lose it all, that's great. You learn so much from that experience. So don't be scared to risk because no matter what happens, you're going to learn from it. Yeah, and that's definitely why CTG is growing so fast is because I make money, put it right back into CTG, just continues to fuel the growth. Just remember, so I was just like you. Nobody is extra special, okay? Everyone puts their pants on in the morning. Okay, yes, we're all unique in our own way, but everything that you see other people do, you are extremely capable of. Compassion, you are not more important than anybody else. Okay, and that goes back to the judgment thing. You have to know to see. Okay, you're not above or below anyone else. You don't put others before or after you. Okay, you're all on an equal plane. That's definitely changed my life a lot. It brings me so much fulfillment to want to help other people. And again, it starts out as a selfish act. You know, you want to help others so it makes you feel good. It has to start that way. Everything has to start as an acquired taste, but over time it becomes genuine. Okay, and then people can feel that genuine energy. They are drawn to you, and then again, the universe rewards good people. It's effortless at that point. All I did was take my addiction to work ethic and transfer it to what I was passionate about. Again, work ethic is a big thing, but don't think it's snapping the fingers, it's going to happen. Slowly do it each day by just forcing yourself to be present. And like, yep, all of you are easily capable of what I'm doing each day. Just the biggest thing to take away is that 3-step thing: happiness, growth, and service to others. And it's that cycle. It just feeds itself, and it just keeps growing. Questions?
Who are like some people that inspire you to this day?
That's a great question. So my father is definitely, so my father was, morals were all about being a good person, was very big into wisdom, stuff like that. So that's why I'm attracted to it. But that's one thing I haven't really had a ton of is a mentor through this experience. And so that's why I give a lot of credit to the books and the people that have helped me. But there's nothing wrong with having a mentor and someone that inspires you. But think of someone, you know, that you really look up to and what makes them who they are. My dad was, he really cared about other people. When he was with other people, that's all he cared about. And so that's kind of why I'm striving to be like that. And again, different things called different people. Philosophy is not going to call the same amount of people. But in terms of making it your life better, having these contemplations of things like life and happiness and all that stuff will make everything in your life better. It doesn't matter what job you have. Great question. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, beautiful. Books I would recommend. Man, that's tough. So it depends on the category. So emotionally, say I'm struggling with mental health, a great start is Be Like Water. So it's by Bruce Lee. And essentially what being like water means is you don't resist extremes. So people want more happiness, right? But they resist sadness. You can't do that. You have to let sadness pass through you, and then you're going to be able to experience more happiness. So it's not pushing or holding on to things. So if I was mentally trying to improve, that's one of them. Business side of things, people always say this one, it is a good one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a great one. That's just very basic. Stop spending money on things that are hurting you. I'm trying to think. Is there a specific category that you're looking for?
No.
So that one, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of ones that are very simple for all of you to start with, because those are pretty easy reads. That's a great question. Let me think on that, and I'm actually going to send a book list to Miles because I have read a lot. And those 3 are great. They're definitely not my favorites, though. I don't know why I can't think of my favorites right now. So I'll send that to all of you as a little book list. If I were you, what I would start with. It's a great question. Any other questions? No? How did I do for time? Did I do okay?
Pretty good. Yeah, 4 minutes to go.
Beautiful. Awesome. No more questions?
Yeah, can we round of applause?